Gentlemen.
Tommy, Mike, good to see you, brother. Gentlemen.
How was everybody tonight?
Good. My blood pressure's been up a little bit the past few days, Mike, with all the crap going on. I know we're going to sort through some of that, but yeah, other than that, I'm good. The alcohol helps a little bit. I know you're not supposed to rely on the alcohol, but every now and then it's simple. Take the blood pressure down a notch.
I think it's mandatory.
Yeah. How am I doing? I'll tell you how I'm doing. I'm in Dallas, Texas, in a hotel room, everybody. So live from on the scene, baby, on the scene. So, all right, guys. So listen, everybody, welcome to the Ten-Four Tavern tonight. We were supposed to have a guest, ATF agent and undercover legend Lou Veloz, but he had to cancel at the last minute. Well, not really the last minute, but a couple days in advance. So instead of booking a new guest and rushing them in and getting prepared, we decided to do a little pivot. So we invited a good friend to the Finest Unfiltered Ten-Four Tavern podcast, Deputy Chief Mike Marino. So Mike Marino's going to weigh in tonight. And then we thought we'd do a little pivot. We'll spend a little bit more time on a current event than we normally do. Usually we do about 10, 15, 20 minutes or so. Probably do an hour or so, depending on how the conversation goes. And then we're going to pivot and have some fun. I think anybody in the chat who's ever been a cop in New York City, and especially the bureau guys, we all have our favorite haunts, and that's why the Ten-Four Tavern's named the Ten-Four Tavern, right? Where do we go? Where do we shape up? Where do we debrief on cases? Where do we talk about capers? Where do we go grab a bite to eat? And our favorite spots. So we'll spend about an hour going through some really cool spots that were really popular in the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. So, but with that, before we get into it, I just want to set this up. Ashli Babbitt and Renee Good. What similarities, what differences? These are two fatal police officer shootings involving federal officers, two, air quotes, unarmed civilians. You could argue that the car may have been a deadly weapon, and we can talk about that a little bit, at the moment of deadly force that it was used, and that they're two nationally politicized deaths. What's fascinating isn't whether these were legally justified or not. That's going to be dissected and broken down by everybody under the sun. But I think where we want to take some of this conversation tonight is how the country responded and the bipartisan positions of, and how differently these two events that have a lot of similarities are completely done and analyzed in a bipartisan way, and all the facts are being ignored and just picking a party line. So kind of that's kind of the setup, guys. What do you think? We're gonna get into it?
Go ahead, Mike.
Just to remind your viewers, Tommy, Ashli Babbitt was the veteran who was the unarmed veteran who was shot during January 6th by the Capitol lieutenant as she was, going through a window, and she was unarmed. Just so everybody's aware of who that is that you're talking about. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, no, that's true. And then look, the other thing is, I know most of our listeners are New York centric. Just keep in mind that the federal use of force guidelines are different than NYPD's. And candidly, just like a lot of different police departments in different parts of the country have in New York, you couldn't shoot at a moving car unless the person was using something other than the car as a weapon, from what I remember during my training. Where federally, there's a lot of shootings involving cars. I was on the shooting review committee for ATF because when I wasn't investigating, I was in charge of training for a while. And we would try to learn from some of the things that happened to train to try to correct some issues if something was wrong, or just to understand certain things. But in federal law enforcement, people driving cars are shot a lot more than you would think in instances where the officer feels that there's some sort of a threat. So I just want to put that out there, because I know in NYPD the shooting would have been taboo, but that's not necessarily the case.
I printed all that stuff out today to look at it, because Tommy had sent me some stuff and I just want to look at it. I knew that from when I looked at the Ashli Babbitt thing, I was kind of familiar with the guidelines, but I couldn't remember the car. So, yeah, in NYPD, it used to say you can't shoot at or from a moving vehicle unless force other than a moving vehicle is being used against you or someone else, deadly physical force.
Right.
In the federal law, the vehicle itself is considered deadly physical force. Right. That's a difference. I will say, though, I handled quite a few of them where police officers did shoot at cars, and I never found one at fault. That's the kind of thing where it's a case-to-case basis. Yeah, if a car's halfway down the block and you're standing there waiting for it and you're shooting at it, well, you're a little nutty. If a car's coming at you and you're backed up against the wall, you got nowhere to go.
Right.
What are you going to do? Stand there and get killed because some boss may, give you a complaint, or somebody's going to, you get your legs smashed? You can't. you have to be reasonable about that. And the federal use of deadly physical force, they keep talking about this standard of reasonableness a lot more than our job did. What's reasonable, and they use the Fourth Amendment and the standard of reasonableness. So, that being said, I mean, I do have my own opinions, like Tommy said, about this incident, but we're not aware of everything yet. And if anything has taught us all doing these things, don't make any judgment until you see everything for yourself. Don't listen to what someone else said, or what a news agency says, or I heard from a guy, you heard from a guy, you heard from another guy. You got to make your own opinions. You got to wait, and we can't rush to judgment. I think all too often we do that, one way or the other. Either we rush to judgment for the cop, or we rush to judgment against them. And God help us, we just kind of have that tendency. So you got to wait.
No, agreed. And look, I wish our elected officials would do that. And look, full disclosure, yesterday I was contacted by Arizona Family News, which is the ABC affiliate, and asked to go on and provide commentary on the shooting. And they were pretty hard pressed on, look, a lot of municipalities, bigger cities, have the same policies the NYPD does. You're not supposed to shoot at cars unless there's some other use of force other than the car. And they wanted me to comment on that and not speak of the federal use of force guidelines. And I was like, how do I do that? There's a federal agent involved in a shooting. You can't hold a federal agent to the standard of a local police department. The other thing that some folks don't keep in mind is, look, a department policy is one thing, but you can't convict someone in court for violating a department policy. You also have to look at, in New York State, it's Article 35 of the penal law. Is it illegal use of force? Does it have to follow department policy to be a violation of the state law? You know what I mean? So there's so many different pieces. I wish the media would allow an investigation to happen. I wish our elected officials, who have been far more venomous than the media, would do the same thing. It's so irresponsible.
And Bobby Lukács just weighed in. He said the same thing, that the NYPD procedure is different than the law, which is true. You're right, Pete. It's a procedure. There's Bobby. Hi, Bobby. It is a procedure, and like I said, I handled a bunch of them. I never found a cop at fault because I honestly couldn't. I wasn't trying to say, hey, we're gonna look out for each other. Are we supposed to get hurt because some lawyer decides that they don't want liability for the police? Now, there's a reason why you're not supposed to shoot at a car, right? We're in a heavy city environment. If you should kill the person or disable the person behind the wheel and that car keeps going, you're in Midtown Manhattan at 4 PM. Now it's a 4,000-pound killing machine because there's nobody. And that's the reason behind it. No other reason than that.
Correct.
We're in an urban environment.
Yeah.
But
the other thing people forget is, the thing that they gauge is what was in the officer's mind at the exact time that he engaged that vehicle. What did he think? It doesn't matter.
It's his perception.
Right, what anybody else thought. That's what the jury has to weigh on. Was it reasonable based on his perception? The other thing is, this was an officer who months earlier was dragged by a car and who was seriously injured. And it's funny because the media was making fun of him for being out of shape. And apparently, one of the reasons he was out of shape is that he was so messed up. Apparently, he had like over 30 stitches just in one arm from being dragged. So his perception of what was happening would be a little bit different, perhaps, than someone who's never been hit or dragged by a car. And, the other thing, full disclosure, is I actually met Michael Byrd, the lieutenant who shot Ashli Babbitt, who retired a captain, after that shooting. And this was I was giving a leadership presentation at the what's called this COG, the Conference of Governments in Washington.
Council of Governments, the COG.
Yes, thank you for governments. And he presented to the class on the why, and I didn't necessarily agree with his why, but and look, I'll say it. He felt that if that door was breached, he was within arm's length of Nancy Pelosi and others, and he was behind cover again. So, I mean, I can't. How do you articulate a threat? He's a bigger guy than me. I'm 5'10", 205 pounds. He's a bigger dude. She was 5'2", 120 pounds by some accounts.
Unarmed.
Unarmed, correct. But in his mind, his thing was, well, if she breached that door and people came through afterwards, then there was threat to the people who he was guarding, which was the Speaker of the House and others. Now, again, what was in his mind is, I guess, what they were thinking when they decided, are we going to charge him or not charge him? But I wasn't there. I wasn't part of that official investigation. No. I think that use of force was within the use of force continuum of any law enforcement agency I've ever spoken to, trained with.
No.
And I sat on the Federal Law Enforcement Training Accreditation Board, and I can tell you, I'm familiar with what all of the federal agencies that train at FLETC believe, and that shooting would not have been justified in any of those agencies' use of force continuums. But here we are. So, I mean, but again, the politics of it got so vile and so, just vitriolic that it didn't fix anything. And politicians were the worst participants in that.
Yeah. So let me jump in here. So I want to get back to a comment that you guys talked about, was waiting for the investigation. You would think that these leadership, and call it the police chiefs and all the politicians, would have learned from the Michael Brown, Ferguson case. Wait for the facts. Derek Chauvin and George Floyd. Wait for the facts. I'm not going to get into these. I'm just saying they didn't wait. We're not going to do a show about George Floyd. We're not going to do a show about Michael Brown and Ferguson. But these, Winston Churchill said, a lie gets around the world before the truth gets its pants on.
Yep.
Why are we allowing these lies to continue? Who's taking responsibility for being the adult in the room and saying, stop this nonsense? This is real serious consequences.
When you ask why are we allowing it, the people that are perpetrating the lies are the people that are not supposed to allow it. So who's going to? Yeah. They're making it worse. This whole, what's going on in our country has reached a fever pitch. It's insane. They should be saying, hey, don't go on the street. Don't do illegal things. Don't trash our city. We live here. Let's wait. Let's wait till the facts come out. This is what you're doing is illegal, and it's going to lead to more. Today, they broke another guy's window in Minneapolis and dragged him out of the car in a gas station. I don't know the circumstance around it. I just saw the clip, but they broke it and dragged this guy out and took him away. You had the two people killed on the West Coast, the Trendy people, where the chief was crying because he felt bad that two violent criminals lost their lives. I haven't heard anybody say, hey, you know what? Whether you agree with it or you don't agree with it, hey, this is America. You got a right not to agree. You have a right to peacefully protest. You have no right to put your hands on a police officer doing their job. You have no right to impede them. Somebody had a thing before. Why were they even opening her door? Because they were going to arrest her, because she was impeding them all day long. That was her job that day. And that's what they have. Do you know how many incidents of their cars getting rammed? Did you see when they were out west and people are throwing concrete bricks when they were doing the farms out there, marijuana farms, I think, concrete bricks and big pieces. I'm telling you what, if I'm in a car and you go to throw a big piece of concrete at me, you're gonna have a hole in you, because that'll kill me if it hits me. And I'm not obligated to get killed so that some politician looks better or somebody doesn't get second guessed. We go home to our families at the end of the night. So
I'm surprised, to your point, Mike. I'm shocked we have not seen more deadly force incidents, number one. Number two is, this is what a lot of people forget, and you touched on it, protesting. Look, we have an absolute right to protest. Once that protesting interferes, it doesn't have to be an assault on a federal agent. If you interfere with a federal agent, I want to clarify that a little further, that's a felony. That's Title 18, United States Code, Section 111. It does not allow you to intimidate, interfere, or assault law enforcement. Now, federal agents. Now, that goes as far as if you try to pull that shit with the mailman or with an IRS employee in an IRS office where you're interfering with them doing their job, you can be charged with a felony. It does not have to be a sworn armed law enforcement officer. And here you have groups that are outwardly stating that our mission is to block ICE from doing its job. So they're admitting to being engaged in felonies. And no one seems to give a shit. Now imagine, here we have immigration law, might not be that popular right now, but it's been in place since long before.
But it's a law.
Homeland Security, right? It was back, remember when INS was part of the Department of Justice? Same laws are in effect. But what happens if you get tired of the drug laws? Do we do the same thing to DEA? Then hey, maybe something. Today's terrorist is another man's freedom fighter. So let's get in the way of the FBI.
But they've done that. We have gotten to a point where if they decide that a particular law impacts one person over another type of person, well, they don't say, well, that person needs to adjust their behavior. The law is no good because it's not fair. So if you got Group A over here and they're doing this and Group B isn't, but 10 guys from Group A get arrested. I guess we should lock up 10 guys from Group B too, because then everybody be happy. You know, everybody doesn't get a participation trophy. Everything's not fair. You're responsible for your own actions. Now, I do think that they're right to call them terrorists because this is funded, this is organized. There's something I saw yesterday where these people are getting trained, and part of their training, they're telling them how to resist and how to rip your cohort away from the police. They also talk about you have to be willing to take a bullet, as they're telling these people, because if blood is spilled, it makes our cause better. Well, whoever's saying that isn't out next to you. I don't see any politicians out there. Oh, they're behind the scenes pushing it, and I believe right now they'd be happy if it was the ICE guy that got shot or the girl that got shot, because either way, the American public is not looking at their bullshit with all the fraud and you know, California's about to go down the toilet. Waltz is probably one step away from being arrested. Elon Omar, God only knows what's going to happen to her. And Massachusetts is going down the shitter, and nobody looks at that anymore. Right. Now it's, hey, look at those ICE guys are doing. Don't look at us anymore. They're very happy. That poor woman, I'm gonna say it as it is. She is a useful idiot to them because she's a confused individual. Her life is not very, according to reports, not very settled. She's not working. She just got a college degree in 2020. She's 40-something years old. She doesn't work. From what I understood, that her parents are helping, support her rent and all of this and that, and she's probably a little bit confused and very easily, riled up like that.
Well, let me jump in on this, Mike. Let me jump in right here. We talked about the comparisons and the difference. I'm going to jump in and kind of insert these as we go, as you guys go and do your thing. The language being used for Babbitt. She's a writer. She was an insurrectionist, and she was with the mob.
Well, the stuff you
Renee
said.
Renee Good, the mother, the artist, the community member, the poet.
Correct. Right, Tommy, let's look at some of the other stuff coming out of some of our elected officials, and some of it's even kind of being tossed around in our chat. Well, why was why are they opening a car? Well, it's to make an arrest. Well, you hear, they're arresting U.S. citizens. Well, guess what? If a U.S. citizen is interfering with ICE operations, they can be arrested by ICE. ICE doesn't have limitations that say they can only arrest illegal aliens. Then they're getting people who aren't really bad people. Well, that's because a lot of cities, I know that they wanted 1,100 detainers honored in Minnesota, over 1,100, that were rapists, murderers, other things. And instead of, when they have these people in custody, releasing them to ICE with the detainer, saying, we're not honoring your detainer, go fuck yourself. So they're letting them go out into the streets. So then when ICE is hunting down these people that have detainers,
you're creating confrontation.
Correct. But let's say I'm someone who's wanted, and I got 3 illegals in my house that are doing nothing other than working in landscaping, and ICE comes to my door. Well, it's no different than when we were cops. If we were looking for a guy for murder and we kicked in the door and there were 2 guys sitting in there that were wanting theft of service and turnstile jumping, guess what? Everybody was going.
Everybody goes.
Same concept. So all of this stuff that ICE has no authority to arrest American citizens, not true. All this stuff, you need a judicial warrant signed by a judge. Brad Lander, like the shit he pulled in the courthouse, the immigration court. Not true. ICE has made summary arrests, just like cops make summary arrests, forever. So, there's so much misinformation being put out by our elected officials that it's maddening to me. Absolutely maddening. ICE are federal agents, just like FBI, just like ATF, just like DEA. They have the powers of arrest. They can make summary arrests. They can pull people out of cars if need be to make that arrest. But all this stuff is lost in translation.
And if I might, I think what gets lost here. Okay, so they're on the street. You're right, and that situation where there's a possibility for violent confrontations is directly manufactured by the people that are trying to stop them. They're not honoring the detainers, right? They're releasing them. Now ICE has to find them on the street. But let's not forget a little fact, because it seems to be lost on Congress. I watch the hearings, I watch it live. I don't like to watch the TV stations because you're getting somebody's spin. I like to see it myself, quite honestly. There's Congress people that think that coming in here illegally is not a crime. It's a crime. If you're here illegal, Now, I'm sorry, and this is going to hurt everybody because I know they just did a thing here where I am. They grabbed all the landscapers. There was empty landscaping trucks and stuff all over the place. They just scooped them up. But you're illegal. Yes, you're working. You're not doing rape, but you're illegal, and it does hurt our economy. But you're illegal. Is ICE wrong to do it? They're there looking for somebody else. You happen to be there, like you said, Pete. They're going. What are they supposed to say? Yeah, all right. You're illegal and you committed a crime. But nah, I'm gonna. We're not deciding. We're not supposed to decide which laws to obey or not. They're out looking for other things. If they come across it, they have to. They don't have a choice.
Right. Well, you know what's the ultimate irony here? Right? Like, who's getting shit thrown at them? Frozen water bottles. Which, buddy, you get hit in the head with a frozen water bottle, it could kill you. So I don't agree with nearly any of the tactics that these demonstrators are using. Right? But they're going after these.
Hi, John.
John.
Right.
So let's be honest. What's the problem? Look, our immigration laws, maybe they do need to be reformed, but ICE agents can't change them. ICE agents are they raise their hand to swear to do their duties. Their duties are to arrest people that violate our immigration laws. The people who can fix those laws
are the ones that are fighting them.
And exactly, they're the ones who don't want to do shit, and they're pointing fingers at the ICE agents, calling them murders. All this. When is the last time you heard about AOC or anything else proposing legislation to fix?
Somebody just asked how many illegal Italians came to Ellis Island. Well, if they came to Ellis Island, they weren't illegal.
Correct.
So that's a silly question.
But let's talk about that too. My grandparents came here through Ellis Island. They had to sit there till it was determined that they didn't have tuberculosis or some other communicable disease, and they didn't have criminal histories. And then they came into the country, and then they had to rely on neighbors and friends to help them get established. There wasn't like, hey, here's a Visa card. There
was no welfare.
And here's this beautiful 4-star hotel room for you.
There wasn't welfare till Johnson in 1963 or 4. And they worked. My grandfather worked. And every day he brought my grandma home a fresh mozz. And you know what else? We weren't allowed to speak Italian.
Same.
Peter.
I talked about this on one of the previous episodes. My grandfather, I always thought he was a very quiet man because he was quiet in front of us. When the people from the old country would come, he would talk, never around us. They would talk. He was just a different guy, like he came alive. It's because he didn't speak good English. He spoke mostly Italian, right? And they left Italy, went to Argentina to get away from fascism, then took the second jump to come to the United States, to Ellis Island, like we mentioned. There was no indication, and there were no giant Italian flags in our house. There was a tiny thing in the bar downstairs. He had a bar. There was a little crossed flags, like in a little kind of stand. There was a crossed Italian flag and a crossed American flag, right? But and that was the only indicia of us being of Italian lineage because we're Americans. He didn't speak Italian now because we weren't allowed to speak Italian. I can't speak Italian because we weren't allowed to learn it because we're Americans now. A lot of the people coming in, they have no desire to assimilate. Not only do they want to not learn our language, they want to bring some of their religion and some of their culture here. And that's not.
I hate to say it, but in a lot of towns in America right now, and it's the focus is on it now because of all the things with the Somalians. So people are starting to look at this a lot. But a lot of the Muslims, they want Sharia law. No, we want our law.
Right.
This is America.
It's not conducive with the U.S. Constitution, by the way.
This is America. You're right, but the death of this woman, Good, was a horrible shame. The death of anybody's a shame, and it's hard to watch. It's hard to look at her in that car. She's like this, middle-aged, if you will, woman. It looks like she probably doesn't even know where she is half the time. She's a confused girl, and she died. And now she has children that don't have a mother. But the fault is not the ICE guy. He did at least in my opinion, he did what he perceived. And that will be judged, as Tommy says, although I'm afraid he may be railroaded just like I think Derek Chauvin was. And all the evidence shows that he was. But he may take the hit for it because they're afraid not to. They're afraid of the country will get torn apart. There's going to be more riots. The people who hold the blame for that are the people in D.C., the people that get up in front of the microphones, the Chuck Schumers of the world and people like that, and they just keep spouting this hatred. Fascists, Nazis, Hitler. Go back to World War II. Hitler, even though he wasn't the worst in World War II, Lord knows Stalin was worse.
Yep.
But when you think about what happened, you know, we tried to stay out of the war. It's not our business, right? Now you look at it's the most morally correct war you ever went to. 12 million people killed in concentration camp, tens of millions of people. That makes you confused, urban infidel. You know, tens of millions of people killed in the streets of Europe, civilians and soldiers, right? Whole cities and all that culture and history destroyed. Those beautiful buildings that would have. If somebody said to you now, you want to go back in time, Pete, you got to go pop Hitler in the head, you would do it and never miss a minute of sleep, because when you start calling people Hitler and Nazi, this is what they see. You just dehumanize them and you make it okay to kill them, and this is their goal. This is their goal. When you have elected Congress people saying we're going to throw them out of our city. When you have a mayor saying, get the fuck out, who the hell, you know, is that like what Tommy said? These are the people that should be saying, calm down, back up, let's let them do their job. We don't do anything illegal here. We're Minnesota. You know, when we live in Minneapolis, we're proud. I remember as a lieutenant, Tony Garvey, God rest his soul. He was a very good union president, Tony. And we were going to go demonstrate because we weren't, you know, Giuliani was giving us the zeros and all that bullshit. And he said, we're going to demonstrate. He said, but I'll tell you what, you're all going to wear a shirt and a tie. You're not going to have a drink. Because there was a picture in the paper the day before, some PBA guy, of course, he was, you know, 400 pounds with his belly sticking out from beneath a T-shirt with a beer in his hand, his mouth open about this wide, yelling, you know. He said, no, we're professionals. We're not going to go out there and be, you know, we are professionals. You want to be paid like a professional, you whack it. He goes, God help the guy I see with a drink. God help the guy I see cursing. God help the guy without a shirt and a tie on. We're lieutenants, we're professionals. And I know Tommy believes in that with the squad. And Lord knows John Cornicello also was very big on that stuff. The appearance, the image, right? So, I mean, they're not doing this.
No.
We're going to throw them.
Let's talk about the opposite of professionalism. Tommy gets mad when we pick out specific people, so Tommy's going to turn very red in about 2 seconds. Watch. Sheriff Bilal from Philadelphia. I don't know if anybody caught her remarks where, you know, if ICE agents come here and start arresting people, we're going to lock them up. We're going to bring smoke. There's something in the U.S. Constitution called the Supremacy Clause, which says that the federal laws of the land are supreme to state laws. So she doesn't have the power to arrest federal agents for enforcing federal laws, even if she doesn't necessarily like their tactics. That locals, governors, mayors have no control over the tactics that are approved by federal agencies. So here she's saying she's going to bring the smoke. I think she must be smoking something because she has no authority to do that. What she doesn't realize too, though, is if a cop interferes with federal agents performing their duties, they could be locked up. You might remember this, Tommy. They made a taught. I know you got a little bit more time on the job than we did, Mike. I remember in the academy more than once they told us you cannot interfere with the mailman. Like you can't stop him from going through a secured scene unless there's some risk of life or limb. It's because it's illegal to interfere with a federal.
I remember being told you can't summons them or pull them over. They can do whatever they want.
So here this idiot, and she is truly an idiot, is telling that we're going to bring the smoke and lock them up. Try it, because you're going to get locked up, and it's a felony, even if you have a bad.
But I think what needs to happen is, see,
Tommy's red. I got him mad.
I'm not.
But see,
I'm loving
Pete. See, Pete, even you and the stuff you went through, you know, and you put a lot out there. I mean, you really put yourself out there, and paid a heavy price for it. You did it all for good reasons. But the people that perpetrated that, when you look back sometimes, and listen, you'd probably do it all over again. I wouldn't change a thing I did, but you got to say, like, but none of these people get punished. This goes on and on forever and ever. There's got to be a price. When these people put their hands on any kind of law enforcement officer, but I know the feds have stricter sentencing guidelines with this. Yes. You got to put them away for the max. I don't care. You got kids, like Tommy just said. Why aren't you thinking of your kids when you're out there acting like a damn fool? Why aren't you saying, hey, if I go to jail, who's going to feed my kids? If I should, you know, I say put them all away. I say hit them hard. And they should have started. Excuse me. They should have started a long time ago. this is a snowball rolling down the hill. If you think this is as bad as it's going to get, I think you're not. I think this is going to get bad. I think they're going to be.
So
out
let me
there
bring
shooting.
up. Yeah, I know, and that's why we need that. They got to pump the brakes for sure. Stephen SST Tiger, appreciate the comments in the chat as well. But this one I want to talk about: Sheriff, DEI ghetto. What a disgrace on every level. She should be brought up on charges. It's worse than that. She's not DEI. She was elected. That means the people made a choice. So I understand what you're trying to say, Stephen. Not necessarily disagreeing, because I think it's proven that she's ignorant and doesn't know her own laws and what she's capable of, to Pete's point with the supremacy clause. But she was elected by the people. Marion Barry smoked crack with prostitutes and was reelected. The people's choice, baby.
Well, the problem is like you said, Tom. People go along party lines, sometimes along ethnic or racial background lines, and it's not always the best. I mean, I never made decisions on anybody based upon any of that stuff. You worked, you were one of mine, and that's it. Didn't matter who you slept with, where you went to church, what color your skin was, what your last name was. Mm-hmm. I could care less. You were blue. We were all blue if you worked. If you didn't work, well, then, you might have a problem. Yeah. But it had nothing to do with anything else.
Yeah. But like you said earlier, Mike, Sleepy Joe's commented on it, is, hey, man, these people are getting paid. Like, I've heard estimates like $1,500 a week to protest. So some of these people, when they get stopped and asked, hey, what are you protesting? Some of them really can't even articulate what it is. Or you ask them, what's a fascist? They can't articulate a fascist.
No.
So what I wonder is, Sleepy Joe says DOJ needs to step up the collars. Yeah, they need to start charging people, because when it's no longer financially prudent for you to be out there doing dumb shit, it'll stop. But right now, people aren't really being charged federally with a lot of these things. They're just being kind of given a slap on the wrist and said, hey, don't come back. And some of them come back and get locked up or dragged out of their cars. But look, I say it all the time, where there's no consequences, people do bad things.
That's right. And look at the results. All right, snowball rolling down the hill. A lot of law enforcement has been hurt. And by the way, earlier that day, I saw clips of people like charging into the ranks of ICE, physically wrestling with them. They're calling for backup from Minneapolis, and they got ugats. Mm-hmm. They got nothing.
And in Chicago, remember Chicago, they said that didn't happen, and they had the radio transmissions. Although the chief did come out with a really good statement about law and order. I give him credit for that. But his deputy, I guess, called off the troops when they were called up, and they denied that it happened. And then somebody released the radio transmissions where it was clear as a bell that he called off the response.
Yeah, and well, what did they say in Minneapolis? We're trained to de-escalate. Now, they showed up, protesters at I think a Hilton hotel. They thought ICE was there.
Yeah.
Now they're going crazy. They were going crazy. Then they saw it on the windows, and the people inside the hotel are frightened. Again. Look at this dangerous situation, right? You got this riled up crowd that they're looking for, ICE. I don't know if ICE was in there or not. And who shows up finally is like a couple of SUVs. You got the chief and I don't know, a couple of sergeants, lieutenants, whatever. And they went up to speak to these people. And all of a sudden, it became, oh shit time, because they realized we are about to get our asses kicked. And they turned and ran back to the SUVs and left, and that was it. And left them there.
Let's
unbelievable.
Yeah, let's peel the layers of that onion back too, though. My understanding is there weren't ICE in that hotel. All right, so which is tragic, because you have these people who were probably there maybe with their kids or people there on business travel who are shitting their pants, which is terrible, right? So I mean, here you have innocent American citizens that are being terrorized by idiots, right? But for argument's sake, let's say there were ICE agents in there, and somebody gets the stupid idea, hair up their ass, and they breach a door, and there's an ICE agent sitting there, right? And now 5 or 6 people come in. What is that agent, by law, allowed to do to defend himself from 5 or 6 people, armed or unarmed, if he feels he's in danger? Right? So, now we have another shooting. I mean, that's why the de-escalation part is so important. But there is no effort to de-escalate at this point. Everybody's just pointing fingers. The vitriol continues.
See what Sleepy Joe just said about which Tommy, you told me earlier about the federal prosecutors that resigned because of the... Who resigned after Ashli Babbitt got killed? Because they didn't even really investigate that guy. And by the way, that lieutenant that you said you met, Pete, wasn't he the guy that left his pistol in the bathroom?
Among other things, he had
Right.
several things in his background. But to your point, Mike, they resigned because they were asked to investigate the wife, not to charge her. They were asked to investigate her. No, exactly. Look, I was under investigation for 4 fucking years for blowing the whistle on Operation Fast and Furious.
There you go.
And guess what? And in the end, I prevailed because I didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
But
There you go.
they can investigate anybody.
And believe me, after Ashli Babbitt got killed, they went into her background and maybe mental stability. She's dead. You don't need to pillory her now. The guy who shot her, in my opinion, should have at least been modified, maybe left there in handcuffs. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But after watching some of that stuff and seeing some of the videos, number one, there was some. I'm sorry, I don't call that a riot. There were some people that misbehaved. And then, but as things come out, it appears that there was an awful lot of undercovers in there that may or may not have been egging them on, okay? Because they do that. They put the undercovers in. But he shoots this thing, and I'm looking at the videos, and there's all these other guys in suits. I don't know if they were Secret Service or whatever, all sitting there with their guns out. Nobody was fighting. Nobody in the hallway at that time, looking at the videos, it almost looked like the Capitol Police were kind of like tour guides.
They kind of are.
Everybody, you're right. They kind of, but they're walking through, and you have your gun. Put your gun away, you asshole, before you shoot it by. If a guy's behind me, I'm going to be worried. I'm going to get shot in the ass. He's going to trip and fall. I'm going to get shot in the ass. So I don't know,
Yeah. So getting back to this too, and you're talking about who jumped out and the investigation for Ashli Babbitt. Well, it came right out that she had a pocket knife in her pocket. They literally said that, like that had anything to do with anything. But of course, we'll figure out how to crush her on that. And then it came out that she had a road rage incident where she was arrested like 3 years earlier from the husband whose ex-girlfriend kind of rammed into her, and they had an incident. And she went to court, admitted she did it, and the judge.
But how many prosecutors resigned then? How many prosecutors?
Well, that's my point. I don't believe for 1 second that a life prosecutor working in the U.S. Attorney's Office, which is a prestigious job, is asked to investigate, and they literally pack up their life, call home, call their spouse, say, listen, I got to quit because they asked me to do investigate. That is such bullshit.
Well,
that is a headline, gaslighting headline to make you think that this big bad fucking government is going after this woman protester, poet, LGBTQ, because they use that. I'm not using it. They're using it. And it's crazy. There's no way those 6 prosecutors in 2 days figured out that this is not the place for them to work because of one ask. It's bullshit.
These poor bastards are on the street every day because the sanctuary cities refuse to honor detainers. They're putting these guys and girls in a situation where they're going to come up in confrontational situations, okay? All day long. I mean, when you look at the sheer number of the ramming incidents, can you imagine people ramming your car? You're a cop, they're ramming your car. Look at the amount of those incidents. Look at the amount of people. I watched something last night after this. They're shooting, big rockets, the ones that explode like the Macy's Day. They're shooting them right into the cops. They're shooting them on an arc, and they're coming down, and boom, and all that burst. That could kill you. And the car, they shoot out a sniper, and every time somebody lit that thing up, shoot them, because they're dancing and they're shooting, and this is okay. So these poor men and women that are just doing their job, they're enforcing the laws that the idiots that are spurring these people on past, or at least have the ability to change, which they don't. And there's a whole nother reason why Congress doesn't make laws. I can tell you all about that. They've completely abdicated their responsibilities for laws to the unelected agencies, because, hey, if you pass a law and you got 10,000 constituents, I bet 3,000 don't like it, may not vote for you. They give them the authority to do it. And it's like,
AOC was one of the most vocal people about this immigration stuff. What laws has she proposed or had passed?
No.
Naming post offices. right? Same thing with rather Ilyana Omar, with a lot of the others who are very vocal about, hey, ICE is fucked up and blah, blah, blah. What have you done to try to fix our immigration laws if it's messed up? Nothing. But so where should people really be protesting?
But
in front of your congressional representative's office.
But could you imagine being out all day? We've all been at details, right? And I used to marvel because they would, if it was too hot or too cold, they'd send the horses in because it was inhumane. But we'd be out there all day with people in your face like this. We eventually got to the point where they said, hey, you're the boss on the scene. You got to rotate your cops because we're human, right? He or she is eventually in the clubs. You're there spitting on you. These are in their face with whistles. They're ramming their cars. They're saying horrible things to them. This is 8-10 hours a day. They're following them. They're doxing them. They're demanding, as they're sitting there with their masks on, demanding that the ICE people take their masks off. Now, in most states, there's laws. When you're in a group of people, 5 or more, you can't wear a mask, right?
Correct.
ICE can.
And amen, Raheem Hamilton. Amen. With the comment Raheem had in the chat. I mean, come on. How much more heinous does it get than that?
What did he say?
Well, that the governor of New York won't give up the guy who burned that woman on the train. He's illegal. They want to honor a detainer. Look, he should be he should be tried for the murder here, but there should be a backup plan.
That was probably one of the hardest things I ever looked at. Oh my God, could you imagine that poor woman? What the hell? The last few seconds of her life were like, holy Christ Almighty.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine what a horrible way to die. But let's peel the layer back a little bit more. Tim Walz, when this was hitting the fan, sent out warning orders to his National Guard and kind of hinted that he would bring them in to combat ICE. A warning order is basically almost like a formal order saying, get ready for your deployment. It's an official document, right? That's an overt step towards activating the National Guard to come in and go to war with a federal law enforcement organization. How is that not an overt act in the furtherance of an insurrection?
Well, maybe they'll do what he did when they do get activated. They'll just quit and go home like he did, rather than go with the people that he was responsible for.
Yeah.
That's insane. Tim Walz.
The other thing is, if it gets the National Guard subject to the uniform code of military justice, so that people who would have probably not done it anyway because it's an illegal order. But it goes to show you how demented these people are.
Tim Walz is a clown. The scary thing with him, he knew about all his corruption. He was afraid to lose votes. And he's one step away. He was one heartbeat away from being the president of the United States. Can you imagine? That lunatic? That man's a lunatic. If you can even think about voting for either her or him, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm conservative, but listen, I love John Fetterman. I love that guy.
Fetterman.
Now, there's a guy I'd like to have a drink with.
Well, I think that's where we're getting at is the party lines, and they're telling you have to be one way. And again, I'm going to go back to the Babbitt versus Good situation. The one who got sympathy, it depended entirely on which team you're on, period. These two incidents are very similar, but yet this is all of the rally cries are all based on party lines. And then John, Eric, and Marlon broke it down like practitioners that they are, and made an assessment. Whether you agree with it or disagree with it, I happen to agree with their assessment the other day. And the same thing here today. I think the three of us would never, because I know you both really, really well, would never go, nope, Democrat, nope, Republican. We just got to go that way. No. I mean, I've said it. I voted for Trump. I voted for Trump 3 times. I like the restaurant. I don't like everything on the menu. I can say that. There's a lot of shit that I don't like. A lot. That being said, a much better situation than Harris and Walz. Obviously, it's all coming out now, even worse than we ever would have thought. But then on the other side of that too is, you have these virtue signaling celebrities like Mark Ruffalo. If you want me to play the video, I'll play the video. He's wearing the "Be Good" button at the Golden Globe. They go right to him. Why are you wearing that button? And they're looking for like he wants to, make a statement. He couldn't even stay on Renee Good for more than 5 seconds. He had to go to Trump in Venezuela. And so, they're all virtue signaling, and they just want to do the Trump derangement syndrome stuff and get this out no matter what, at all costs. And none of this is real, people. Stop listening to these talking head idiots, these celebrities, and the mainstream media. And I believe mainstream media is the worst culprit in all of this, because if they did their
Boom.
job, nobody
Boom.
else could do what they're doing.
Yeah.
Boom. Boom. Well,
But I never understood why people listen to celebrities who they don't even do their own grocery shopping, pick up their dry cleaning. They have assistants to do everything for them. They're
wanna
paid
know?
exorbitant amounts of money to pretend they're somebody else, and yet there's people who blindly follow everything they say.
They can stand in front of a camera and cry on command. You look at Robert De Niro. He is one of the most stupid motherfuckers I've ever seen. He has not a brain in his head. He can't speak without a script in his head. He is, and he actually believes he's done nothing but play a tough guy. He really believes he is one, and he's not. You're nothing. Now, he was very generous after 9/11. I was on his boat, down there, and he was feeding people, and I thought that was very nice. He himself was feeding cops and firemen, which was nice. And I thought a lot of him then. But since he's come out, the guy's an asshole, and he actually thinks that his opinion matters. Who gives a shit what you say, you old bastard? You're finished. All right.
Now he wants to leave New York because he's bad at Bandami. So he was all on board, and then until Bandami wants to take everything, a property sees property, make it community.
What do they call that? Collectivism. It's another word
also
for
known as
communism.
Yes.
Yeah.
So but now he needs to leave New York. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Schizophrenic.
Yeah.
He's all messed up.
Yeah. So, getting back to the behavior and the risk reward assessment stuff, again, I think we all believe that these two events were awful. Both behavior by the victims dictated where they ended up that day. Neither event should have happened. It did happen. Risk reward. You got families at home, and the difference is because Ashli Babbitt's husband said, "No, I wish I prevented her from going. If I was there, she would not." Those multiple interviews, TMZ, a whole bunch of different news outlets. He repeated an interview tour over and over again how much he regretted letting her go there, and that if he was there, she never would have went into the thing. And then, everyone is saying you can't criticize Renee Good's behavior. Listen, whether her cause was just or not, it doesn't matter. The reality of it is you are not using common sense.
I don't believe you're criticizing anybody's behavior. You're saying that we've got to a place in the world where you're not responsible for your own actions. Of course you will. You got to own your own.
You're victim blaming, which
you got to own. Yeah, yeah. Well, Tommy sent a really great comparison, and when you read it, he's got one and then the other, one and the other, and pretty much addressing the same things. And what's also apparent, which you just said, Tommy, when you read it, you remember how the mainstream media presented it. And this is it. So, and people actually believe that. I don't know if they actually believe it or if they want to believe it. I'm not sure. Like, we've all sat down now with people who have different political opinions than we do. But when you hit them with the fact, they don't have facts. You say, "What do you say? That what did Trump about what? What did he lie about? Fuck you, you're a Nazi." They don't have it. They don't have the answers. Now, years ago, I remember having different political views with people, and you might disagree with each other, but at the end of the conversation, you're still friends. People are shutting their families off. They're shutting their friends off. People are getting divorced over this shit. And the politicians, I love listening to them talk. I'm going to have to beat up on the Democrats a little bit. I'm sorry. I listen to them talk. And their whole thing is we have to stay in power. We're going to lose power. I haven't heard anyone say, except for John Fetterman, who I'd love to have a drink with that guy. He is a pisser. I like that guy. I'll wear a hoodie, shave my head, the whole fucking thing. I've never heard them say, but what's good for America? What's good? The constituents don't even matter. And they don't even hide it anymore. It's pretty much F you and what you want. I know better. And you'll do what I say because I'm the one in power now. All this money and stuff that's all going back to them, it's just to buy votes. They should make a law. You shouldn't be allowed. There should be no more PACs. And you shouldn't be allowed to donate in a state if you don't live in that state. Get rid of the lobbyists. You should have to live there. It should be good. This is all now who's running now? Mitch McConnell's seat. So the guy who they say is going to win is the guy that has the most money. It's just come down to money. Who can have the most commercials, and because Americans are like nitwits. The guy that I know that name. I recognize that name. How many people go to the polls and they just vote D or R? They don't even know. Do they read? Do they read about the amendments or the laws? No. D or R, D or R, D or R. You're out of your fucking mind.
Right.
I mean,
no, 100%, 1,000%. Actually, the other thing that pisses me off is you have all these not-for-profits and non-profits that really nobody monitors, and they funnel a ton of money into political causes as well.
And
we need to look at some of these because some of them they're not doing the right thing by the people they pretend to represent.
Some of them, look at who runs them. It's politicians, whose nephew, whose aunt, whose cousin, who's this. When you look at who's marrying who, the politicians, whose daughter's marrying Soros's nephew, this is, I hate to sound
Didn't Uma Abedin marry Soros' son?
Yes.
I mean, there you go. I mean, how incestuous can you get? Come on.
Well, because I think he sent her a picture of his junk like her ex-husband used to send to people, so she was very attracted to that kind of thing. But it's all, I hate to sound like a nut, but it seems to me that this whole deep state, which by the way, Reagan, when he left, that was his big regret that he couldn't dismantle. Do you know there's 2,000 agencies, government agencies? You don't even know who they are. You don't vote for them. You can't vote them in. They're behind a lot of this stuff. But the politicians that are up front doing it, I'm sorry, somebody should have to pay for that child not having his mother the other day, because it's not her fault. Tommy, yes, she was there and everything, but I don't think she's got much of a brain in her head, quite honestly, and they take advantage of that. It's like if you look at the mullahs a lot of times and the imams when they talk to their congregations, a lot of these people can't read the Quran. They can't read, so they tell them it says this and it says that, and it doesn't. And they have these people going out with bombs strapped to their chest, and they're like useful idiots. Yeah, you're going to get 72 versions. First of all, why would you want more than one woman anyway? Because they're all nuts. You're going to make you crazy. But they believe this stuff, and they go out there, and they blow themselves up and everyone else believing that this. And you don't see the imams and the mullahs doing that. Oh hell no, no, because they really have the 72 women. And they're drinking and they're having a party and sending these other videos. This poor woman is a victim. That ICE guy is a victim. The ICE guys that go out every day are victims. I don't know how you could put up with that amount of stress. I've been at details, and I've been known to hit people on the head with a nightstick from time to time if they get under my skin too much. I don't know how they do it. How can they do that every day? I mean, the stress and that pressure, I mean, they're doing it every day.
And Mike, their recruitment numbers are through the freaking roof. They had like 60,000 applicants when they had 10,000 openings, and they're bringing on.
They didn't want me. They said I was too old.
Yeah, no, same here. You can't be 60. They would hire you up to age 60. So I'm out.
I'm a little older than that. So,
well, we're getting a little off track. So, any final thoughts? Anything you want to break down with Babbitt versus Good? I mean, each one of these issues brings us and branches us out and could take us down a rabbit hole. And we did a pretty good job not going too far out, but a couple of good points. Definitely what's going on. I think, Stephen, let me find you again, because I have a standard comment that I use all the time on LinkedIn. Every time there's a really bad decision by leadership, I always write, it really just proves that the leadership or the chief and who's going against the good, hardworking people, they just really have contempt for the constituency that they purport to represent. That's the bottom line. They don't really care. And I know, and I worked with Mike Marino, for those of you who don't know, and I watched him on the street. And Mike Marino was a very proactive police officer, even in the rank of captain. I watched him do police work leading from the front. I'm not saying that because I'm kissing his ass. I'm saying that because I've come to respect him and watched him work. He was also the most compassionate and empathetic police officer at the same exact time that you did not want to go against Mike Marino. And I believe most of law enforcement can and does act like that. but they won't let you do that. And they will tell the lies that is not true, and it is true. And that's why I know they hate and have contempt for the people they represent in the community. So Stephen, SS Tiger, I think I'm with you.
And look what happens, Tommy, what you said, a lot of cops. So when they fire the community up, and the community gets in the faces of cops, ICE, whoever, and they hate you just because who you are. And you know what, after a while, Tommy, you're a human being, you start hating back. And it takes a long time before you get to the maturity and go, it's not their fault. They want what I want. I don't care what neighborhood you work in. I don't care what the situation is. You want to go home at the end of the night and close your door and not be bothered, and so does everybody. I don't care what color, what neighborhood you live in, good and bad all over the place, right? They want what I want. You have to talk to them about it, and people understand. I want what you want too. I may be a different color than you, but you want your neighborhood to be safe. You want your property to be valuable. I want to be able to sit and put my feet up and have a drink with Tommy and Pete. I don't want to have to run around like this all day long and get involved in that. But the people above, Tom, I think they're very happy with this situation. I honestly believe that there's politicians in D.C. right now that are out right now raising a drink, happy of the fact that this poor woman believed their bullshit and paid a price, and this poor ICE officer who, God only knows what he's feeling right now, because as Pete said, he did get dragged a little while back. He got dragged horribly. But this poor guy, he may be railroaded. He may go to jail. He may get fired. He may not be able to feed his kids tomorrow. And I know he's scared of that. And plus, he took someone's life. Now for those of us who've never done that, that's not a great thing. I mean, you got to go talk to a priest. Did I do the right thing? How does God look at me? I just whacked this person. You know, am I okay with it? I mean, I don't know. I don't like to kill a frog. I don't go hunting because I don't eat it. So I'm not going to kill something for the fun of killing something. You killed a person, you know, who's got a family. That's pretty tough. Yeah. And this poor guy's living with that, living with the fear. This woman's dead. Her husband has no. So the winners here are, no, I didn't grow up in Bensonhurst. I grew up in East Flatbush. So I didn't live with all the guineas, I swear to God. But that's nope. I grew up in Flatbush, very mixed neighborhood.
Oh, Mike, I got to be honest with you. You're known to hate the Irish guys. You tool on the Irish all the time. So you are a bigot. You pick on the Irish more than anyone.
Because they abused me. Hey, listen, yeah. I had a lieutenant with a brogue. I was a rookie cop. I used to have to look at my name tag. I thought my name tag said guinea prick because that's what he called me. Send a guinea prick to the DOA. I'm not lying. Send a guinea prick to the hospitalized prisoner. And what did you do? Oh, was there EEO? Did I need crayons and safes? No, you went to work. You shut up. And when he put you on the street, you made your collars, you wrote your summonses, you brought him a cup of coffee with something, a little something in it, you know, on the desk because lieutenants didn't go out then. After 6 months, he wasn't sending me on those jobs anymore. But I was still, don't send the guinea prick to the hospital. Put the guinea prick in the car. He works. I was still a guinea prick. And people say, well, doesn't that bother you? I go, no, I am. He's right. I am a guinea prick. What is he lying? What can I do?
Yeah.
No. But what do you?
So anyway, all right. So again, we're an hour in. Good stuff. A lot of interesting perspectives. Not the executive perspective, but definitely good perspectives. I just think this is so bipartisan. It's so partisan that it's obnoxious and ridiculous. And I wish people would just look at the facts and be honest. And another quote that I heard today on the news was 80-something% of people saw the video of Renee getting shot and killed in Minnesota, and 53% of those people believe that the officer was not justified. I think, like, it doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't matter. Not who are those people and what qualifies them for their opinion. And you know about opinions, everybody. They're just like
that's right.
Assholes. And everybody's got one. And guess what? Maybe 53% of those people who viewed the video have no right to even weigh in. They certainly don't have all the facts. They certainly don't have all the information.
Maybe
they're still gaslighting.
Maybe these are lunatics like that Stephen Smith who really should stick to basketball because he sucks at football too. But Oh, they should have shot the tire. Shot the tire? I don't know.
Yeah.
I heard that before too. No agency in the country teaches their people to shoot a tire. First of all, it doesn't stop a car.
No, it does not. No, it does not. The spike strips don't, so a gun's not. You're lucky if you hit it, number one. Number two, people that have been, your first shooting, I mean, you're just kind of like this, and you're hoping that your bang is bigger than their bang and go away. You don't know shit. You're like, please leave me alone. What the fuck is going on here? It takes a while before you, and you'd have to be in it a lot, and you really don't want to be in it a lot like that. But where you get to the point you're actually thinking through it, instead of just like panicking. But you're right, Tommy. They don't know. They really believe, shoot the gun out of the hand. They don't understand that it goes so fast.
They watch too much TV, brother. They watch way too much TV.
Well, they just haven't done it, and it's not fair to be judged by so many people who rip it apart and commentate, all these experts on TV. And Tommy and I talked. There was a pretty high-ranking boss who was on a job who I respected a lot, questioning the guy's tactics. They just went to get her out of the car and arrest her. And he went to take, I think, a picture of the plate, which I think panicked the wife. And she'll drive, because now they're going to get a picture of the plate. And she panicked. I do not believe, looking at it, that she tried to hit the cop. I think she just wanted to get out of there. They were pretty close, and he got hit. You think it mattered to him? He sees a car coming at him that could kill him. You think he goes, well, she's not really meaning to hit me. So I don't care. Let her break my legs and run me down because she doesn't mean it. All he knows is he's going to get whacked or get hurt again. And maybe this time he doesn't get better. Maybe he's in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. Maybe he's dead. Maybe his kids don't have a daddy. So unfortunately, her son doesn't have a mommy. It's not his fault. And I swear to God, I mean, she's responsible for being there, but I don't blame her because she's half a lunatic, I think. She's one of these crazy that you see at all these things. You're very easily riled up. The real perps on this are the politicians that tell them to do this. Throw them out of our city. They're Hitler, they're Nazi. We'll show them. They're disappearing. I don't know what this means. They're disappearing people. You mean they're doing their job and taking people off the streets that don't belong there? Yeah. And listen, sometimes, and they're gonna focus. They're gonna focus in on the things that look bad. Like they had a guy, I think, from around here. Well, he's been here 25 years. Yeah, it is a shame. He was a nice guy supposedly, and he did work, and he had 25 years. At what point in time did you not think it's a good idea to apply for citizenship? I'm sorry, you're taking away from our economy. You're costing money. You're here. You're breaking the law. Okay, you're here, and you do like I think Trump tried to do it too. The DACA people, right? That Obama put into an executive order.
Right.
But a lot of those people have been here since they're children. A lot of those people served in the military in this country. A lot of those people became cops. So what does he do when he wants to give them a path? Because and damn well should. They came as a 2-year-old, and then you served in the military. Fast track them to citizenship right away.
Yeah. And
what happened? The Democrats wouldn't let them do it. They turned him down.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. I don't get it. That to me, that made common sense. I bet you John Fetterman would have voted for that. I like that guy. I want to have a drink with that guy.
You said.
I know. I want to have a drink with him.
All right. So we're going to have some fun in a minute. So basically, where I'm at is if you strip away the politics, we have 2 women, 2 federal officers, 2 seconds of decision making, and 2 very different national reactions. The real story isn't where the shooting and whatever legal standard. It's what side you're on and who gets grace and who doesn't, based on a party line. And that's the real guilty parties, Tom, and everybody stays away from. I'm sorry. I'm pointing my fingers directly at DC and these politicians. You did this, you sons of bitches. You're happy it happened. You got your talking point. You're going to raise some money. And you're gonna fake that. Oh, what a shame! They could give a shit about that woman. They could give a shit about the ICE cop. They could give a shit about the whole country.
Yes, amen. I 1,000% agree with everything you just said. Yeah, they're horrible.
All right, final thoughts on Ashli, Babbitt, and Renee Good and then we're gonna move on. We're gonna have some fun about restaurants, bars, pubs.
I'm done with Ashli Babbitt, brother.
Final thoughts. Final thoughts on Ashli Babbitt and Renee Good. May they rest in peace. Light a candle for them,
Yes.
because they were both victims of something that really wasn't their fault.
Yeah,
That's right.
now let's talk food.
All right. So listen, we got 5 boroughs. We got 76 precincts now. We worked on their 75. I retired before they opened up the.
I think there's 77 now, Tom.
Is it 7? Oh, they added the one in Queens,
The 1-2-1,
right?
and the 3-3, and I hear there's another one now, maybe 78.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, I'm going to go with the 75 precincts when I was still active, and I have 2 buddies of mine that on their last year when they were getting ready to retire, they made sure they visited after work or a restaurant for a meal or whatever. They made sure they visited each of the 75 precincts before they retired in the last year on their
No shit.
on their final tour. Yeah, so good for them. But we did have some wonderful bars, restaurants, pubs, taverns, places, like I said, where we shaped up after a big caper. We took down a homicide. We got a blue 5, went out a little celebration, and we have a list of long, really great spots, really great people with a lot of history, a lot of stories. So if we want to start, I'm going to bring to the stage Donovan's Pub.
Oh my goodness.
In Queens. And
see, right away you go right back to the Irish guys. See?
He's Irish. That's what they do.
Well, I have some Italian restaurants, and there are some pizzerias coming. So Donovan's was not only a great spot, but also they honor and there's a police and firewall as well. So anyone in the chat, anyone ever been to Donovan's? You guys ever been to?
Yes.
All right. Famous, great burger, great steak in that place. So another place. Let's go. All right. So Brooklyn North, 9-4. Teddy's Bar and Grill, the oldest continually operated bar in Brooklyn. Teddy's Bar and Grill, which was Peter Dolger's cafe in the late 1800s. So, Mike, I think you might have joined us a couple of times, but every ComStat was on a Thursday. All 10 squad commanders in Brooklyn North from 1999 to 2004, maybe even a little after 2005, 2006. Every ComStat, the Friday after ComStat, we went shaped up at Teddy's Bar and Grill for lunch. It was owned by a wonderful woman who bought that building in the 9490 border for $187,000 in the 90s with 4 apartments and a bar, and she turned down over $5 million in like 2010 or 2011, I think. I think she eventually sold it, but imagine $187,000 and turning down $5 million.
I did have the honor of you guys inviting me there once. I did. You and John invited me there. Yeah.
And what's really interesting about that is I'm going to give kudos to the New York City Police Department, because no piece of real estate goes from $187,000 in 20 years becomes a $5 million asset without the good hard work of the New York City Police Department in keeping its city safe. And that's where everything, the economy, everything works when you're safe. If you don't have terror and you don't have street crime and urban chaos, everybody benefits.
That's what everybody wanted.
Yeah. Pete.
Oh, Piper's Kilt. Yep, 230th Street and Broadway. It was actually on Albany Crescent, but it was closest to 230 Broadway. Owned by a retired ESU guy's widow. The ESU officer committed suicide. So cops patronized that place because of that tie to law enforcement. So, I mean, if you went to Bronx Court, you either went to the Court Deli, which was kind of a dump, or you went to Piper's Kilt, which was kind of a risk because it was a little bit far from the courthouse. Best hamburger in the Bronx. Awesome mozzarella sticks, ice cold beer if you were there after work. Great place. Awesome. They also had one in Upper Manhattan, same owners, and they had one in Eastchester, New York. But that one was a staple for Bronx cops and detectives.
What are you trying to say?
Yes,
you never drank beer during work hours, Pete?
Not cold ones. They were usually warm. Not only kidding.
Okay,
Yeah,
don't lie.
Don't
Don't lie. Okay.
Oh, when I was in the 4-5 squad, man, they didn't trust me until I got shit-faced one day at work. The sergeant came in and laughed at me when I was sleeping in the bunks. Finally trust the housing kid. The housing kid. That's what he called me. Billy Larkin, old timer. Drank a bottle of scotch a tour.
Warm scotch out of his locker, right?
I'll tell you a funny story. My first day in the 4-5 squad after the merge, I get in there. A cop got shot in the face in Corp City, so I got sent there by Chief Cameron Denner at the time. And I walk in the place and I could smell scotch in the air, and I'm thinking, wow, these guys hit it hard last night. Like, holy shit. So I knock because they had the half wall like in Barney Miller, like most squads had. And I hear the voice in the sergeant's office. It's Billy Larkin, wonderful guy, old timer, big fat guy. He's like, who's there? I go, it's Pete Friselli. He goes, oh, you must be the housing kid. So I'm like, yeah. And I walk in and he's got a not like a tumbler, like a full like water glass on his desk filled to the top with scotch. So he asked me, and again, I hadn't even had breakfast yet. What do you drink, kid? The clear stuff or the brown stuff? And I was a beer drinker. I didn't even drink hard liquor, but I wanted to fit in. So I said, yeah, I drink the brown stuff. He turns around, and behind him, he had like the old Murray the Cop jacket, the tunic, and it was hanging on a coat rack. And the sleeve was tucked into the pocket, covering a bottle of Tullamore Dew.
Oh, who's right up to
the sleeve? He pulls it out of his pocket, pours it for me, and I'm just sitting there like, what the fuck? Yeah. It's not even 9 o'clock in the morning. I didn't even have my egg sandwich yet. And this guy wants me to start slamming scotch. So we're sitting there, and this is right after a cop gets shot in the face in Co-op City, a guy named Angel Sostra. In walks who? Chief Cameron Denner. This guy, Chief's a former Marine, right? Larkin looks at him and goes, Chiefy, what do you drink? The clear stuff or the brown stuff? Cameron Denner looked at my glass, looked at his glass, turned around, and fucking left.
That'd be him.
It's never spoken of again. But
he was straight. He was straight up dude. Hey, listen. Yeah. There were two bars. I was a cop in a 2-8, so there were two bars right across from court. One was Maroofi's and one was Happy's. Right, Maroofi's was catty cornered, and all the guys went there. And there were no cell phones or beepers then, so you didn't. You made a collar. You had to sit there like until your prisoner went in front of the judge. You could be there 3 or 4 days. And what do? Everybody's drinking. I mean, you're making overtime. They're probably drinking 80% of it while they're there buying everybody drinks. So, but everybody would go there. You tell the court officer where you're going to be. I'll be in Maroofi's, and he'd call Maroofi's and say, "Tell Mike to come over. His prisoner's going to be arraigned." And you'd go up and do the goofball shuffle because you were hammered. 2 steps forward, 1 backward. But one day I go, and I was very impressed with all of it. I'm a young kid, and the cops sat in the front of the dock, in the bench waiting. And there was a guy there. He was a detective. You had to see him. He's sitting there saying, "Look at this guy. He's in a suit and he has a briefcase on. He's just sitting there staring straight ahead. I'm going, man, this guy's he's a real deal. Look, he's all official, right?" So we're all sitting there waiting for our cases. And all of a sudden, he was unconscious. He was drunk. He wasn't sitting there. He was drunk. Boom. Out he goes in front of the bench, right? And everybody was over there all the time. The captain got knocked out in there. He walked. I want everybody's name. And one guy punched him out. And everybody stepped over him and ran back to court because nobody was in uniform. He went to arraignment, then it was jeans and a T-shirt. It was allowed, to do that back then. Oh, nice.
So I have a story, Pete, that matches your story. And Mike, we'll talk about Tony Trotman another day, another time.
Yes.
Which I think would be a great podcast topic. For anyone who knows Tony Trotman, he was a former police officer who was a great guy, great cop, and went bad in the 7-7 precinct. I think Mike and I can speak for Mike. We were both very fond of Tony at one time. And then he went really bad, really corrupt. He went to jail.
It was his partner. I think it was his partner that sucked him in on that.
Yeah. Jamil Jordan. I love Tony.
You never saw a guy so proud to be. You never saw a guy so proud to be a cop. It was the hardest thing in the world to believe. Yeah.
So anyway, Tony Trotman shoots or is involved in a shooting. I'm not sure if he was the shooter, but he shot and killed the perpetrator, and the bullet went through the perpetrator and also killed a witness. A bystander. And so this was the very first shooting with John Miller, Jack Maple, and William Bratton taking over the administration. So it's their first MOS involved shooting. And they send the commissioner up to the 7-7 squad. And the only guy up there is a guy by the name of Dooley. and the commissioner walks in without his entourage. I guess his entourage's driver was, taking a leak or whatever. And Bratton happened to walk into the squad, empty squad, by himself, unannounced. Dooley looks at him and goes, "Hey, Commissioner, how you doing?" And the commissioner goes, "Good." He goes, "Is the coffee up? You got coffee in you?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got coffee." So Dooley goes into the little coffee butler's pantry kind of thing.
Yeah.
What? Yeah. And he just pops his head out to the side. He goes, "Oh, and by the way, Commissioner, that coffee, do you want me to sweeten it up a little bit?" And Commissioner goes, "No, I'll take the coffee straight. That'll be fine, Detective." Didn't say a word, but then he had word. But then he kind of informed the squad commander. Probably not a good idea to offer the police commissioner.
Then never did a thing about it. He just kind of like, all right, I get it, whatever.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do?
Right.
All right. So you talked about court. So I didn't put it on the spread on the PowerPoint with all the pictures. So I'm going to bring up a screen. But since you talked about court, so for any Manhattan guys, the first person in the chat who can tell me the real name of this restaurant bar. Forlini's.
I love that place. They closed like 2 years ago. I was fucking heartbroken. Anytime I went back to New York City, that was my first stop. Every single time.
I remember that.
Anybody in the chat, what was the nickname of Forlini's?
For losers. That's what they called it. That's what they called it in the fifth.
All right. Well, the thing that I'm looking for is when you were in court and you were waiting and they asked you where you were, where can I get you? Part F.
That's right. That's right.
Oh.
Yeah. They used to call it Part F. So
there's a booth there. Well, not anymore. It's closed. That had Morgenthau had like a brass plate on it, a booth there. He ate there almost every day. Yeah.
But I can tell you this, I know for a fact that Morgenthau did have that, but I know he didn't tweet it on social media.
No.
That I know.
You mean like Barstool Bob? There you go.
That was a big SDNY place too, Tommy. I love that place.
That was
where everybody, judges,
DAs, cops, everybody was there. Yep.
Yeah. All right, next on the spot. Whoever went to the plaza in the Oak Room, and there's a little story here.
That's a Patty Brosnan hangout, brother.
You squad guys were making real money. Us patrol rats couldn't afford that. But go ahead, Tommy.
Well, the real better story about this, the Plaza Hotel and the Oak Bar, is that a retired Detective Bureau captain by the name of Sal Blando used to run security at the Plaza. And not only would you be his guest at the Oak if you stopped in, and he even let the Brooklyn North guys come in and spend a little time. And what everyone should know about Sal Blando was that you got a lot of in-service training from Sal Blando on how to be a detective in that room right there. Yeah. And I think Jimmy West, if you listen to this, if you listen on the rewind, he and I shared a story about that and how much he learned from Sal Blando in that same room as well. But the better story was any cop who got jammed up and terminated became part of the security detail and rehired by Sal Blando.
That was really nice. Really nice.
He saved a lot of guys who got terminated and gave them jobs, and either long term, depending on their situation, I don't know, or as pass through for them to get back on their feet. So kudos, God bless Sal Blando, a legend on the job and in the bureau, and thanks for all those cocktails in the plaza.
Well, if I may then, because I saw Terry Manane's on the board, a couple places I gave you in Staten Island, and that's really where I got to meet Buddy Manane, Terry's dad.
Legend.
And he would hold court.
Terry's brother.
I thought that was his father. Wasn't?
No, Terry and Buddy were brothers.
Really?
The Terry and our chat.
But there's a son too, isn't there? Wasn't there a son, Terry, also there somewhere? A younger one.
I'm not sure.
Anyway.
I don't know. But Terry's in the chat. Let's hear it.
But he was Buddy sitting there holding court. And I mean, first of all, the guy highly respected for his ability as a detective and a boss and everything. But a guy more well loved. I swear to God, I don't think Buddy ever paid for a beer. Nobody would let him. They would buy him beers all day. He ran that there was that pizza place, and then It's been there forever. You walk in, it smells like it's been there forever. All rickety tables and stuff. And then he did the thing at, Rob's his son. I'm sorry, Terry, you're right. Because I had met Rob a few times. I know he's a detective now too, I think. But, and then he did the thing at Ruddy and Dean's. He would do like a cigar night, a steak dinner that was up, it was by the 112 precinct. He was great. That's when I got to know him. And then there was McGinn's place. He was a retired inspector and he ran a place. I told you, Tommy, that was Switzerland. If you went in there, the bosses went in there, Pete, like I was a chief, I'd walk in and all the squad guys were there Sunday. They're watching football. They'd get up. No. Switzerland. You don't see me. I don't see you. Yeah. And then they'd buy me a drink, which I really appreciated. They were good guys. You guys, Lee's Tavern. That was it. That was Lee's Tavern. You guys got to go out though. You guys were more social.
I know you.
You had more of a gentleman.
Yeah, I'm sorry. What I was going to say is Buddy's getting a lot of accolades, and anyone who knows Buddy was great. But Terry Renee, outstanding detective in his own right as well. I would say definitely as a squad commander and a sergeant in the bureau there. Terry Renee, there's a bunch of homicide guys. When they came in, you just felt a sense of relief. So thanks for all that, Terry. Appreciate it.
They're both
business was getting done when that happened. So I had Coogan's up for those
North
guys.
Coogan's was full of nurses from Columbia Presbyterian and doctors, cops from Northern Manhattan, and home invaders.
That's right.
We used to do surveillance on home invasion shape-up crews that would go there, meet with each other, decide, hey man, you got your gun, let's go. We got a place we're gonna go rob. I didn't know that. When I was just a cop and went out having beers here and there. But when I got to work with the Red Rum guys, we wound up many times doing surveillance on Coogan's. So it was amazing because we saw a lot of people we knew. Some of them were suspects, some of them were cops. It was crazy, but great place, always packed.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. What do I got next? This is the elbow room, the inside of the elbow room. Pete, that's you, buddy.
4-5 precinct. Anytime we closed the homicide, we would go there. The bartender was a off-duty ATF GS-14 supervisor who was working off the books. Nobody knew that at the time. He was actually on my interview panel to get hired by ATF. Good guy, Richie. I won't mention his last name, although the statute of limitations has expired. But no, great place. And good bar. Good cop and fireman bar as well. Great steaks. Huge T-bone steaks. Cheap.
Awesome.
Because they weren't beef, they were dog or cat that they got on the street. That's why.
It tasted good. Like we didn't care.
That's what they
just needed to. You just got to brine it. You got to marinate a little bit. That's all.
That's what they used to say in Chinatown. You'd say to the older guys, "But what's in this?" And he goes, well, "Did you get sick?" You say, "No." "Did it taste good?" "Yeah." He said, "No, don't worry."
No matter.
All right.
The call box.
Brooklyn North guys. The call box. Anyone knows anything about that place? A lot of parties, a lot of Brooklyn North parties there. A lot of case reviews, and like you said, Pete, a couple capers put down, and you can always find somebody at the call box. So
who owned that, Tommy?
I don't know. I wasn't a regular like that. I would make appearances, but yeah. Oh, Ron Layson, Brooklyn Narco spot too. That's right. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Herbert Street guys for sure. They were right down the block.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So all right. So this is the tavern in the 10th. Is that Pete? No. This is Regs, right? Is this Regs?
Yeah, it wasn't me.
I think that's Regs. In the 2-8.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure. I forgot. I didn't put the notes on this one. Sorry,
it doesn't look like it looks like it's a long name on the side. And I mean, I got out of the 2-8. And
that's Regs of Harlem. Regs of Harlem. Yeah. That's
really?
2-5. Modern Samurai says it's in the 2-5.
Oh, okay, 2-5.
Yeah,
okay.
2-5. Yeah.
Because I was
2-5.
in the 2-8.
Thank you, Modern Samurai.
I don't remember that in the 2-8.
Yeah.
There was one bar.
Hey, we got a $10 super sticker. VR forever. $10 super sticker.
See what Bob Lukács just put up there? Regs is in the 2-5. Now Regs wasn't like this. Rags was a little hole in the wall across on 119th Street, diagonally across from the 25,
okay.
right?
Okay.
And it was, I mean, I don't know. I don't even know if they had a permit or anything. The beer was in like stand-up coolers, like big, like freezers, but it was coolers that kept ice. And all the guys would go after work. And the guy who ran it was a little black guy named Murph, and he was little and he was fast, running by. And you'd have guys up at this end bothering Murph. He'd go to talk to them, and there'd be guys stealing beer down here, and Murph is throwing shit at them. And oh my God, that place was and I swear to God, I don't think it was licensed or anything. I think it was completely illegal, as were a lot of the places in the Bronx that we went to after work.
Yeah. So VR forever, coffee and donuts for the squad. I think that's for the guys in the morning. We're at a tavern here, so but you can have coffee if you want. No donuts, no donuts.
I see the chat. Somebody's.
We got the 2 Tom's pork chops coming. It's
Oof.
coming, guys. It's coming.
Oof.
NYPD history.
All right.
Tom's.
So this is a little Flatbush Avenue for the bars of Flatbush. So that's in Nell Flaherty's. So
I remember that.
I don't know if the Brooklyn South guys went there, but I can tell you after off duty, I grew up about 6 blocks away from Nell Flaherty's.
Wasn't that by like Avenue P around there, Tommy?
Avenue P and Flatbush Avenue. Yes, sir.
Yeah. I remember
I think it was Peter Quentin. Yep. So Nell Flaherty's, and then there's a whole bunch. There's the Cuckoo's Nest and Jimmy Patrick's and a couple of other places. And then Vic's Moonbeam for anyone who remembers the old diner, guys. Ron Layson saying 7-0, guys. So all right. All right. Oh, Staten Island, you sent me this. Joyce's Tavern.
Yeah.
Let's keep it civil, guys. Let's keep it civil.
That was that's an Irish pub, but believe it or not, great pizza. You know, and you could go in there at any time, and you'd always whenever I stopped in there for anything, you'd always have the emergency service guys that I guess they lived around there or something. Same guys in there. I mean, I knew most of the emergency service guys, and you could sit down, have a drink with them, have a pizza. Just a neighborhood place. You know what? I kind of gravitated towards the neighborhood places more, where you could sit down, be comfortable, sit all day, meet a friend, you know, like that. So,
yeah. All right. Ron wants me to show the stool. So let me see what I can do. You guys keep talking. Tell me about Joyce's Tavern and how an Irish pub can make great pizza. What is that all about?
I don't know, but they just did. I don't know. Hey, listen, you're in New York. Everybody makes good pizza. You know, that's how it is.
Yeah. Let's see what I got here. All right, here we go. Let me do this. Okay. All right, we'll get it in here. I mean, he did post it on social media, so it is open for. It is.
That's not something I would have done. I know if I would have got something like that, I might tell you it was a joke. Hey, look at this. But I don't think I'd want that to be my legacy. You know? So, but to each his own, I guess.
Yeah. So let me get this one down and then get this one up. And there it is in prosperity for life. It's
Oh, okay. No comment.
Yeah.
You know what? We need to take a road trip and go and steal that thing.
Well, and again, you know, for the Joyce's Tavern, I know a lot of guys go there, and Mike, you said a lot of good things about it. So, and I know they take good care of the cops, so appreciate that as well.
And listen, and who can forget? Who can forget the back room in La Laconda, Kono's place on Graham Avenue?
Oh, you're jumping. We've got you.
Yeah.
Let's see who's next up. Let's go through the. We'll go.
Hold on,
I
gotta open the door. Oh, Bamontes, hold on, let me open the door. Hold on a second, I'll let my dog in.
Mike's letting the dog in. So everyone who's got a dog, bring the dog into the tavern. The tavern is dog friendly.
I got two big German shepherds. So
yeah.
they'll knock the door down.
110 years old. Great.
And what was the name of the bartender?
The first restaurant.
What was the name of the bartender, Tommy?
I don't recall.
Diesel.
Help me out. Diesel. I don't remember that.
Here's a little fact. Diesel's no longer with us. Here's a factoid for you here. Chicken Parmesan was not made
Yes.
in Italy.
Yes.
They attribute Bamontes with creating chicken parmesan.
Interesting.
Yep. Bamonte's also probably one of the first restaurants to have a window into the kitchen. And that's an interesting little nugget as well. And at least 3 or 4 episodes of The Sopranos filmed inside of Bamonte's. So,
And
couple little yeah.
Anthony, who owned it, remember Anthony?
Yeah.
He's got a very big. His daughter Lisa runs it now. They're still running it, but poor Anthony. Anthony got older. He's no kid, that's for sure.
Yeah. So anybody who comes from outside of New York and they call me up and they ask me where should we go in New York, and I ask them if you want a real, authentic, old school Italian restaurant that you will not regret, this is the first spot I send them to. So let's do Peter Luger. Oof. So I will admit that I would say once a year, because Mike, you're lying to the audience, telling everybody that we had made all the money in the squad. We did okay, but we weren't our pockets weren't that deep. We were running families and kids and try to get some public schools and private schools in if we could, and stretch pretty thin. But
and as I recall, you were pretty busy. You were pretty busy coaching children's sports too.
I was. My little leaguers are all sergeants, cops, and detectives now. So, and again, I'm going to say that again. So, some people have asked me about some of the stuff I do on social media, and why do I care? And you're retired now a long time, and you don't even live in New York anymore. What do you give a shit for? And I was like, I give a shit because my kids are growing up in this world, and I give a shit because my kids, my baseball players, my little leaguers, my football team, my peewees, they're all on the job now. Cops, detectives, some sergeants. We're waiting for one of them to make lieutenant, man, and that'll blow my mind. That'll blow my mind.
Did they call you up? Did they still call you and call you Coach Tommy?
No. I saw them. I saw a lot of them at the wedding. My son got married in October. I saw about half a dozen of them there. It was just great, and they're doing good. So. Anyway,
some of them call me. They're in their 40s. Coach Mike, and they're on a job. Yeah.
But Peter Lewis. So our squad, maybe once a year, we would say, "Hey guys, are you up for this?" And let's go do it. And it such a great experience. And I heard it's deteriorated recently. But what was awesome about Peter Luger's, and I'll tell you right now, I sit down, you get tomatoes and onions, you get the bread and butter with
bacon.
the steak sauce, get the bacon on the side, then you get steak for 2, steak for 3, steak for 4, depending on how you always order one up from the number of people actually on the table. So if the 3 of us go, we order a steak for 4. If you order a steak for 5, you do a steak for 2 and a steak for 3. You don't do a steak for 5 because the smaller are better cuts. And then you get a side of hash browns, a side of cream spinach, and then you finish with a pecan pie with schlag and a coffee. And then you have Beck's while you're eating. Every single time I ever went there, I never looked at a menu at all. And I actually heard a woman order a filet of sole once, and I couldn't believe it. So,
and listen, and you weren't getting Beck's, you were getting Brooklyn Lager, by the way, in the ice cold water. And on top of that, you shouldn't have had the pecan. You should have had the apple strudel and the strawberries and schlag.
No, I'm gonna go with pecan pie.
Oh no, you fucked that one all up. And the steak. You remember Charlie Broughton?
Yeah,
so
of course.
we would go, and it was funny because the waiters. There was no bus boys, no food runners. They did it all themselves, and those guys were doing over $200,000 a year. They really doing well.
Well, that's why they
go. If I went with, if you got promoted or something, I would go there once in a while or go for lunch and stuff. And you go there, like there was the 3 of us. So Bernard would come out and go, okay, steak for 3. And you weren't going to tell them how you wanted it. You were getting it red. That was it. They didn't care. Whenever Charlie went, they knew him. So if he went with us, it'd be steak for 3 and steak for 1, well done. Because they knew Charlie began that well done. Oh, it was great. Yeah, it was great.
But then you learn the trick too, because you get medium rare, And then some people wanted medium. So what you do is you take the slices and then you just use the hot plate.
Rub it on the
turn
plate.
the sides and then
That's right.
rub it on the plate. So a little trick.
That's right.
You know?
Yeah, well, the waiter showed you that.
So Pete, back up to the Bronx. I think this is one of your pizza spots.
My opinion, best pizza in the Bronx, not in that whole area, but in the Bronx itself. It's in the 4-5. Haunt for the 4-5 squad, and for other people used to drive in from other precincts to come and get pizza at Louis and Ernie's. As far as I know, it's still there, but it's off East Tremont Avenue. I don't remember exactly the side street that it's on, but yeah, crispy, man. If you grab a slice by the crust, they were just like, it wouldn't even bend. Perfect.
How long? How old is that? It looks old, Pete. How old is that one?
Oh, that was there back when I started as a cop in the Bronx in '87.
It was old then.
Yeah,
it was old then.
Around. Yeah.
Does he have like the coal of the wood burning oven, or is it gas?
No, it was wood burning, and they had good cannolis and they had good strombolis.
There's Lalaconda. Now,
so Lalaconda. So let's do it. Let's go back now. I told you jumped ahead. So you got Ron Layson going. So that was his first white shirt luncheon.
I met him. I met him. I was in Brooklyn North. I met him, and he actually was very, very close friends with Chief Espo and their wife. The way they would go together, their wives would go away. And the good thing about Kono, he's got that back room, so you could call him and say, Kono, listen. Again, it's a neighborhood place. You would go in there. I would go in there sometimes. Like I would have a guy drive me in. I had a lieutenant drive me from Staten Island. I had to go to the bar. I says, I'm going to bring you to my friend's restaurant. I'm going to buy you lunch for taking me to the city. But just be advised, we're going to sit down at the table in the corner. That's my table. But at the end of it, there may be 20 of us sitting together. And there was. And this guy, Dave Goodwin, he was a lieutenant. And he said it was the best time he'd ever had in his life. He still talks about it today. But he has that back room. So, Pete, you know who goes there a lot still, Tommy, is retired chief of detectives, Phil Pulaski. He with Charlie Wells. They go there all the time. They go in the back. You call him up. You say, I'm bringing 15 guys in. Okay. He sets you up and he sits with you. His wife will sit with you. We watch his kids grow up. Yeah. They're going there and stuff. I mean, great place. He cooks from the region he comes from, so it's not it's not the typical stuff. If you go to the real Italian restaurants, they do. They cook from the region they come from. They don't cook, what we think. But I always had a great. I would go there in uniform sometimes, and park in front. Well, when I wasn't in uniform, he had the two old nanas sitting out in front in the black dresses, and I park on a hydrant. You can't park there. Yes, I can. Then they know we're going to call the police. I am the police. This is all the time. And then you go in, and if I was in uniform, he'd give me food, but then a to-go coffee cup with wine in it, so that nobody could see you drinking wine in uniform. He's still a great friend. He's still there. The neighborhood's changed a lot. But I still, if I'm there and we're going to put people together, Tommy, I'll call him up. We're going to come in the back. I got 15 guys. Okay. And he's ready for you. He sets it all up and he's ready to go. It's a great place to have white shirt luncheons. It's because it's in the back room. It's very private. You could stay there all day. It's close to Manhattan. You're right over the bridge. It's close to Brooklyn North. Brooklyn South, you go right up to BQE. I'm surprised he's not made. But you know what happened? When, after Espo left the job, it's people stopped going there, The only thing you had to watch out for was sometimes that Kelly guy went there. Ray Kelly liked that place. Yeah. So you used to have to call. If I wanted to go in a few guys, I'd call him, say, Kono, what's the weather? If he said it's sunny, I went in. If he said it's cloudy, I didn't. Because that meant Kelly was there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right, let's go back to steakhouses. So Lower Manhattan, a short walk from headquarters, Mark Joseph Steakhouse, which is a former front of the house guy from Peter Luger's opened up Mark Joseph, named it after his son. So that was his first and middle name. Total 100% riff on Peter Luger's, but with linen tablecloths. So great place for a long time. A lot of good stuff there. So anyone who ever had steakhouse, and I think right now, for those of you who are big steakhouse guys, I still go to Keen's in Midtown. It didn't make the list here when I was putting this together. Old historic steakhouse, but also Wolfgang's. Is also another
Peter Luger's guy. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There's a place down here in Naples, Florida called Andre's, and when you look at it, Peter Luger's used to have like it looked like that, like the Roman head thing, the little branches they put. It's got that on. It looks a lot like Peter Luger's. The guy used to work in Peter Luger's. He's got the same inside, like the same kind of setup, but you don't get the rolls like you get up there. That's for sure. Oh,
all right.
Two Toms.
Here it is. So I'm sorry, who was that again who called the Two Toms? Someone in the chat called the Two Toms and you guys did it. So anyway, please, if you in the chat, hit it up again, who called Two Toms, give you a shout out. But legendary Gowanus Cop Hangout, Two Toms, closing after 71 years. For those of you who don't know what Two Toms is and the style and the way it went, it's hilarious. So Pete, I'm going to let you tell your trigger lock story. Mike, you've probably never heard this. It's pretty interesting. And then we'll talk about, Carl Dunzel called out Two Toms. So shout out to you for calling Two Toms, jumping ahead. But here we are. Great restaurant in Brooklyn South. I think it was the 7-6, I think, right?
No.
7-8 maybe? 7-8 or 7-6.
It's
it
right
was
off the it's right by the Gowanus on 3rd Avenue.
Yeah.
It might be the
6-8. Carl, what precinct is Two Toms in? And they sold it a couple years ago. But anyway, in the meantime, Pete, you got a great trigger lock story in Two Toms.
7-6, he says, Tommy.
So there's a program that started back in the late 1990s in NYPD called Operation Trigger Lock. What happened was in Bronx homicide, we were taking cases federally. And we started a bunch of these cases by going after a felon in possession of a firearm. So what happened was Al Matarasso, the chief, who I loved, and Liz Glazer decided that we were all supposed to meet about a couple of different cases we were working on. So myself, Sean O'Toole, Rob Berger from ATF, Liz Glazer, Al Matarasso, and Betty Tirado, my partner, went to Two Toms for dinner. And I look at the chief. Here, I'm just a detective, 3rd grade. I'm nobody. And we're talking because he liked these 2 cases we did. I was like, Chief, why don't we just turn this into a program? I'll go out there every day and look for guys that get caught with guns. We'll take them federal. We'll charge them. We'll proffer them. He's like, you know what, Pete? That sounds like a fucking great idea. Do it. So
Trigger Lock.
So Operation Trigger Lock, which turned into like a citywide program after I retired, but it was a Bronx homicide program for 3 years, started over beers and pork chops at Two Toms. So I didn't know this, but I heard later on they would actually at CompStat sometimes ask people like, well, did you trigger lock the guy? So it became like a recognized program.
It was huge.
Well, it started huge. Yeah, I started it on a whim to be able to keep working with this ATF guy who was a good dude. And the whole thing started there as kind of a half scam. But the scam was to still go out there and lock people up. But here it was in the homicide squad making felon in possession cases.
Yeah. So, all right, Ron Layson, thank you for this. Pronounced Dwenzel, a retired E-man. So thanks for that. Really appreciate it, Carl. And the shout out.
So what was the little guy's what was the little guy's name in the back of that made the pork chops?
Anthony.
Yeah, that's right. Yelling and screaming at us.
Yeah. So what's really funny is for anyone who's never been inside, it's just communal tables, 2 long tables. And the first time I ever went there, it's basically the only thing you're getting is pork chops. That's it. If you go for anything else, same thing. You might do fine. But he would also tell you what was available. Like some days the sides were very different. There was no menu at all. And I'll never forget the first time I ever went. I'm like, all right, it's kind of crude. I love it. The floor's crooked. It leans like, if you put a bottle on the floor, it'll roll to the other side. And I'm like, hey, can I get another Budweiser? He goes, yeah, sure. Help yourself. It's in the fridge.
You get the coolest. Everybody got their own.
Yeah, you got your own beers.
That's why you Irish guys like that place so much, because you did get a lot of food. It wasn't good. You got a lot of it, and the pork chop was as big as your head.
Yep.
Yeah, it was great. It was great memories, a lot of laughs. And I give Pete a lot of shit for this, that they have to launch a Bronx program in a Brooklyn restaurant. And poaching one of our eateries, no bueno. I'm not down with that.
And by the way, Tommy, you were right. They had 2 long rows of tables. So usually the cops were on the right, and the wise guys were on the left. It was a funny place.
That's
to
right.
be. Pete, you did. Pete, no shit. You'd be here, all the cops, a promotion party, whatever. You'd call Anthony. And he'd say, well, how much you want to spend? Because what are we going to eat? And it depends. You said 40 a man, whatever. It would be a little bit of a different menu. And you go in there, all the cops are here, and all the wise guys are here. And you were like within arm's reach of each other. It was insane.
I was only there at one time. That's the only time. I just remember the pork chops were humongous. But yeah,
as big as your head.
Yeah.
And they were broiled. They come out of the bread as big as your head. And
and I remember, go ahead, Mike.
Twice a year, some little old Italian lady would go in there, and she made her own red pepper. Twice a year, she would come in with it, but it wasn't red. It was like a different color, almost like an orangish kind of. And let me tell you what, a couple flakes of this on a plate of pie, she would burn it. It was insane. Oh, I don't know what she did to it.
Yeah, and then for those, again, we'll wrap up with 2 times. Again, my experience was I don't know, maybe there was 10 of us, and we had part of one of the communal tables, and we all had pork chops, beers, the sides, and the salads, or whatever. And so all right, there was no bill. He'd go like this. He'd look over the table. He'd look his head around. He'd do a quick back of the envelope math in his head and go, "Give me 300."
Yep.
You're like, all right, and then you hand them $400 and be on your way. So, ESU party, Rob Lukash. We emptied that refrigerator, and he said, "That's it, no more."
And
it's good stuff.
And knowing Anthony didn't say, "Get the fuck out." That's it. He yelled at you. I'd say, "Get the fuck out of here now."
Yeah. All right. What else do we got? Pete, Arthur Avenue Market. Is this a sandwich run?
Yeah, man. There was a bunch of different little delis in there, and you could go and get a sandwich literally 4 inches thick. It was just Italian spot, although probably now it's mostly Albanian, but it was old school, man, an old Italian market. And you could buy, while you're in there buying your sandwich, you could buy some imported pasta, some other stuff to bring home, vegetables. Good spot. I haven't been there since 2003, maybe a little bit, 2005, the latest, but yeah, it was a good spot.
Man, Rob Lukash, he's weighing in. He's got a lot of experience in the culinary and tavern arts.
Yep.
I love it.
You know what? Now, there's a man, Tommy, that was probably on a take. He's spending a lot of money.
Sorry, Rob.
Yeah.
All right, that's it for the restaurants this go around. Had a whole bunch. Really appreciate it. Brought back some great memories. These are times gone by. For those of us who did police in this era, again, not only for the job that we did, the noble work, loved being a detective, a detective supervisor. Cold case was fascinating. The squads were fascinating. Actually, I'll tell you a funny story real quick. Is when I was 9 or 10 straight years of regular CompStats. And I was tired, and Butch Nisi recruited me. He said, "Come on over to Cold Case. You're ready. You've been doing CompStat a long time." And then he sent me, to lure me, he sent me a button in the interdepartment mail. And it was a no stress button with the strike through it. And he goes, "See, Tommy, this is what I'm telling you. No more stress. Come work for me in Cold Case." So I went. And what I realized was I needed a sabbatical. I didn't really want to leave the squad. I just needed a break. That 28-day, that's every 6 weeks of being at CompStat was just brutal. And
Jeremy's,
Mike,
Jeremy's Ale House. They used to have the oyster shots in there.
So, Carl, we're going to try and do another episode. So we got plenty more to do. So there's a lot to miss. So thanks for Jeremy's. Failed the 2-part sergeant's test in '93 because I went there for lunch. Hey.
When I was a rookie cop, I went to Jeremy's with a sergeant named Andre Barry, who's a housing guy. Drank my fucking ass off. Woke up in Atlantic City with 3 other cops. Didn't even know how I got there. Yeah, that was a classic spot.
Well,
yeah. So I got one
classic boss story for you. Now you said that, Pete. I'm a sergeant in the 7-3, and when you did midnights. Always one squad I called my saloon squad and my saloonatics. They were the guys that just went out every day, right? So one of the guys was a prolific drinker. But he never missed a day. He showed up. He was there every day, and he was fine. I don't know how he did it. So they can't find him. He went out. They don't know where he went. And his wife said, I think he went to California. She's calling me. I think he's in California. So he calls up. Like 3 days later, I said, I'm not going to mention his name. I said, are you in California? He goes, what are you, out of your fucking mind? I'm in Florida. The kid went to fucking Florida. He just got hammered, got on a plane, and went to Florida, and that was it. Didn't go home. Nuts.
Yeah. Okay. So, go ahead. So I was just finishing up saying that we had such a wonderful time, not only doing the police work, but also a lot of the socializing. And Mike, you and I have talked a lot about this.
But see, Tommy, see what you said before about people ask you, why do you care? Right?
Right.
And you're gone. You don't live there anymore. But you see all the things you talk about? You see the good times we had, and we got a lot of work done too. We did good stuff. We really did. But the friendships you forge and all these memories that you forgot about, and this is why you care, because this was your life. You lived it, you know, and it was very important to all of us. And we had a lot of pride doing what we did. And you hate to see it not being carried on, not being passed down. Like you don't pass the torch down. Jeremy's in a big foam cup. What was that? Tommy, the bar in Brooklyn, they had the
Farrell's.
And you know, they put stools in there finally. They finally put stools in there. They didn't have stools, remember? You had to stand up at the bar. Yep. Well, that's it. Farrell's. There it is. Michael M. Farrell's in Park Slope.
Yep. And then Pete, do you remember the bar across from the 4-5 bartender was an old guy named Jimmy?
I do. I was just posting on it. Actually, I remember the spot, but I don't remember the name of the spot. It was real close to the 4-5. So I mean, if it snowed and
sure, Ron, it was. It was.
Yeah,
Ronnie,
we would go in there and have a few cocktails till traffic died down. Little dumpy place, but the bartender was a good dude. Loved cops.
Hey, listen, there was a bar next door to the 9th precinct. You went next door, you walked down the steps. I mean, right next. You walked out the stoop of the 9th, you made a right and went down the steps. Open 24/7. 24/7. Where's the lieutenant? Next door. Where's it? Next door. You go, there they were. You know, they solved a lot of things. There, you got a little problem. You had to see the captain. Go next door, buy him a beer, and he fix your problem. That was it. Oh boy.
So Carl, we got same family owns Farrell's, Ruddy and Dean's.
Wow, I didn't know that.
That's cool. Yeah. And then Rob, we got Fiddler's Elbow and Frenchie's. You know Frenchie's, Pete?
I do. In fact, there's another place that was there that Rob will remember called Hurley's. I was in that was a regular place for us. So we were in Hurley's one night drinking. For two things I'll say about Hurley's. One is I got my ear pierced in Hurley's when I was like 22 years old by a drunken nurse. Whatever. She sterilized it in a shot of vodka. A whole other story. But one night we were there drinking and we left. And within like hours after we leave, a gasoline truck drove into the place and it exploded. The whole block burned to the ground. But yeah, great place. Cops, firemen, and nurses. Love that place.
And all because you got your ear pierced, you burned the place down.
Probably. I brought bad luck, bad juju to the place.
And did she freeze it with an ice cube? Did she freeze it with an ice cube?
I was so shit-faced, I felt nothing. I was just like, oh, okay, whatever. I was there with a guy named Jimmy McGinnis, an old housing sergeant.
You were anesthetized.
Yeah, exactly. No.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, so guys, any final thoughts? And then I'm going to do a wrap up on the show next week and promote the Executive Perspective show. So any final thoughts on the Ashli Babbitt good comparison, the shootings, and then our restaurant and bar journey down memory lane?
No.
Any final thoughts for you guys? We'll go around, and then I'll do the wrap up.
Only thing on those shootings, like I said, God rest Ashli Babbitt and her soul. God help that poor ICE guy, because he's going to go through shit that he doesn't deserve to go through. And you know what? God help all of them going out there every day and being subject to this for just doing their job, and it's not their fault.
Yeah.
You know, they're political pawns.
Yep.
Oh, man, agreed. Anybody that puts on the uniform every day, God bless them, God protect them. And man, look, and if you happen to know one of these guys that are out there, or if you're dealing with some shit, I say it all the time, man, it's okay to not be okay. It's not okay not to do something about it, man. If you're in stress, dealing with the stuff those guys are dealing with, and you know one of those guys and they're in a bad spot, talk to them, man. Have them call somebody, whether it be, EEP, the clergy, but man, it ain't good to just sit there and be in your own head.
Or buy him a drink and pierce their ear.
Wonders for you.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Really appreciate it. We're 2 hours in. Next week, we have Detective First Grade Mike Prate from the 7-9 Precinct Detective
Oh.
Squad and
Oh.
Jimmy Glynn, FBI agent. Mike and Jimmy launched a RICO case in the 7-9 Precinct. A homicide happened in Manhattan, and then there was some Lafayette Gardens shootings over a 6 or 7 year period. Very violent crew, a lot of murders. We got tie-ins to Mike Tyson. We got tie-ins to Little Kim. We got tie-ins to Biggie Smalls. We got tie-ins to a lot of the rappers in the industry. The leader of the gang was a guy named Damian Hardy World, and the case was finally taken down in convictions, I believe, in 2017. So from 1999 till it finally pulled it all together was 2017. So we're going to go through that case with the FBI agent and the detective involved next week. And I was present.
An 18-year case. Wow.
Yeah. And it took, I don't think the RICOs really started until around 2004, 2003, 2004. And by the time they pulled it all together, maybe my dates are off a little bit. It might be a little shorter than that. But anyway, I was present for the 99 through 2004 homicides in the 7-9. So I have a lot of experience with that. Mike Tyson his bodyguard was killed in the 7-9, a guy by the name of Daryl Hamo for homicide bound. He was Mike Tyson's bodyguard.
Wow.
And when he got killed, Mike Tyson was putting out against these guys. This is all documented in court cases and in the media. So everything I'm saying has all been documented already. And there was a hit. And Mike Tyson was going to get shot and killed in front of the Brooklyn the Armory.
No kidding.
On
Atlantic?
Yes.
On Atlantic?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And they were going to kill him, and he was driving a Bentley or something, and they decided not to do it. Yep.
Wow.
So big caper, all documented. We got court document record. Then we got the 2 case agents, the detective Mike Prate and Jimmy Glynn, the FBI agent. And Jimmy Glynn is the least looking FBI agent you'll ever see.
I remember Mike.
Yeah, he's a great guy. So anyway, that's what we're doing next week. So next Tuesday, January 20th at 7:05 Eastern Time, Ten-Four Tavern. All right, and tomorrow night, 5:05 p.m., we got Ron and Rob, the executive perspective, police-involved shooting investigations from the executive's perspective. Ron and Rob are going to delve into the intricacies of investigating police-involved shootings, explore the contrasting nature of laws and departmental policies, which was a little bit, and Rob chimed in earlier in the chat about that, on how these differences can potentially lead to civil liabilities. They also examine the role politics and investigations, provide a behind-the-scenes look at the realities, not the rhetoric. So tune in for Rob and Ron. And then on every Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8:05, John, Eric, and Marlon for the Finest Unfiltered. Appreciate everybody. Really, really enjoyed the chat tonight. Hope we brought a good product to you tonight, some good conversation, agree or disagree. This is our view from our experiences in our world. And Pete, thanks for your expertise with the federal side of deadly physical force. Appreciate that. All right. Appreciate everybody. Stay safe. Be well.
Good to see you guys.
Good meeting you, Mike. God bless.
Good to see you, Pete. And
You guys
thanks for
wanna stay in the
everything.
green room after?
Thanks for everything you did. Thank you.
My duty.
Tommy, are you Tommy? Wait, last time, are you cut or have a hoodie? I'm not sure I know what that means, but okay.
You don't want to
Joe
know.
Roscoe.
You know.
No, I got it. A little slow. I'm Irish. So
You're not even
Irish Catholic. So.
You're Irish. You're not even sure what you got. That's just how it is.
You have to see it to know. All right. I appreciate everybody. Appreciate the jokes. Stay in the green room. Talk to you guys. Be safe, everybody.
Be good.